Hey there everyone, Afrodo Reviews here, bringing you books to determine, are they worth reading over second breakfast? Or do they deserve the fiery pits of Mount Doom? Spooky season has ended, and we are on to the next month, the month of November, the month of giving thanks. At least that's what our parents always told us. If you actually look into the history of Thanksgiving, it's awful. Anyways, let's stick with the spirit of the holiday rather than the truth for the moment. Fun fact, I actually recorded this already, but apparently the audio switched from my actual recording mic to the camera pointed at me. So my entire video sounded like this. I want to talk to you guys, and I'm going to read this book right here. It's probably that probably came in better on my mic than it did in this. So that explains why this is late, and I apologize. Before we get too far into it, let's talk about our October wrap-up. October was honestly a great month for me. Not only did I really enjoy the A to Z horror challenge that I set out to do, even if I didn't quite manage to get all the checks I wanted to. We all kind of knew I probably wasn't. But the channel experienced a massive amount of growth, and I am just honestly shocked. I went from 67 subscribers at the start of this month all the way to 92 as of recording this video for the second time. And it's just, I'm just honestly shocked. I'm just so glad. I'm not sure what to say. It's awesome. I'm almost at the big 100, and it feels great. I want to thank you guys so much, and I'm glad you're enjoying the content I'm making. Thank you. I don't know what else to say. Okay, what was next? In terms of the actual stories that I reviewed, I would honestly say that the best one that I talked about was on Halloween, where I talked about the Taverns of Terror anthology series. That was honestly the best book that I hadn't already read. Otherwise, I think Death Troopers would probably get it, but I have a bit of nostalgia for that, so I might just have rose-tinted goggles, and I acknowledge that. But Taverns of Terror was a brand new book that I read this specific season, and I honestly loved most of what was in that book. If I had to label a most disappointing one, though, it would definitely have been Lord of the Dead by Tom Holland. Mostly because I could sense that Tom Holland had skill, and there was an interesting story that could be told here. It's just, he wanted to be Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. And that did not work out for him in the long run. Now, that's the ultimate thing about it. I also did a horror comic book reviews, and I really enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed it so much, and got enough positive feedback on it that I'm considering making comic reviews a more standard part of this channel. You probably won't see any right away. Comics are surprisingly expensive compared to books, especially in thrift stores. Like I told you before, I go to this thrift store, and as long as I get 5 books, I can get them for $1. So we're averaging about 20 cents a book there. That same thrift store that sells real cheap tends to sell all their comics for $3, and that's each. I don't get a discount if I get 3 more. So yeah, also with comics, the art is just as much in review as the story itself. So I would probably need to get it on my phone or a Kindle reader. That way I can show you pictures from the artwork that are quality worth it in a way, since I don't really have a scanner. So yeah, I'm just gonna put that out there. With November coming around and no challenges on the horizon, I probably also am gonna try to get back into doing video essays. I know I keep saying that every TBR, but I really do want to do them. It's just outside factors have prevented me from actually putting it out there. The first one was a collab, and that's still in production. It's hard getting our schedules together and working things out. And the second one I actually had recorded, except the audio messed up real bad. It was warped to all hell. So I had to end up deleting that raw video, and I'm going to have to record it all over again. I also want to apologize that if the uploads come out at a slightly slower rate this November, it is because I'm currently taking part of the NaNoWriMo, where I am attempting to write 50,000 words in the month of November so I can basically try to put my novel out. I get my first draft out. I'm using an old idea that has basically been swimming around in my head for 5-6 years now. So I'm really excited for this particular one. It's only my second time attempting this, so I also got that first time jitters a little, I guess. But you know what? That's for the most part, that's the wrap up of the month of October. So let's go into November and let's discuss the books I'm going to be bringing you, because I'm still going to review books. Don't take me wrong. Reading is a joy, and making fun of bad books is also a joy. But anyways, for November, I heavily debated what I was going to do. The first idea that came to me was I could take a books I'm thankful for kind of approach to what I was reading. Basically take a whole bunch of series or books that I'm glad exist and review them for you guys. Go back and read them over. However, as I was thinking about it, I realized, yeah, that's a little too close to my nostalgic reevaluation month. And I don't want to just repeat myself, especially since that was only about 5 months ago. Wow, that was 5 months ago. Huh. But anyways, so I don't want to just repeat myself. So I debated some more. I thought maybe novelization November, where I would read novelizations of popular blockbuster movies and, talk about them. See if maybe they stack up to the movies in question, which of the two is maybe better, small things like that. But I realized that's a little tough, and I feel like I would need to do both the movie and the book at the same time, like in the video. And I'm not quite confident my editing skills are up to that just yet. So I'm going to hold off on that. Also, I think I only have 3 novelizations so far. So yeah. And then I debated the theme based around a very popular internet challenge for November. I'm not going to say the name because I don't know how overly sensitive YouTube is these days. They tend to be super sensitive about certain stuff. But it starts with 3 N's, and that's all you're going to get. I thought about reviewing, I'm going to review bad romance/erotica novels and talk about those. But I decided against that too because you got February. That's the month of love. That's when you talk about bad romance and stuff. Or that's when you just talk about romance books in general. And I got a couple lined up for February, don't get me wrong. But eventually I found my thing. And you know what? I'm going to review books that make me thankful for this November. Now you might think immediately, wait, isn't that just the first one you mentioned? You said you weren't going to do that? No. By this I mean, I'm going to review bad books. Now, for those of you who watched my bookshelf walkthrough, if you notice some of the books in my pile, I said that I only had them because they seem bad. And that's because I believe a bad book can teach you just as much, if not more, than a good book. And when I started this channel, I started picking those up a little more often with the intention of eventually reviewing them on this channel. And I think now's the time to finally crack into that small pile I've been creating. Whittle it down a little. Focus a month on it. And you know what? That's how I'm going to start it. So get ready, guys. November is going to be the month where I teach you to be grateful for those good books out there by showing you just how bad it can get. Let's start off. The first book I'm reviewing this month is Mass Effect Ascension. Wait, what? Okay. Joking aside, Mass Effect Ascension is a good book Mass Effect Ascension is a book I'm reviewing because that has nothing to do with the current theme of the month. Mass Effect Ascension I am choosing to review simply because the first Monday of this month is November 7th, N7 Day. Now, for those of you out of the fandom, N7 Day is a little small holiday in the Mass Effect community where we celebrate our love for Mass Effect, because N7 is a very well-known logo for the franchise. I can't really explain why without going real in-depth in the lore, so you have to forgive me. That is what I'll be reviewing for November 7th on Monday. The synopsis, for those of you curious. When they vanished 50,000 years ago, the Protheans left their advanced technology scattered throughout the galaxy. The chance discovery of a Prothean cache on Mars allows humanity to join those already reaping the rewards of the ancients' high-tech wizardry. But for one rogue militia, the goal is not participation, but domination. Scientist Kaylee Sanders left the System Alliance for the Ascension Project, a program that helps gifted biotic children harness their extraordinary powers. The program's most promising student is a 12-year-old Gillian Grayson, who is borderline autistic. What Kaylee doesn't know is that Gillian is an unwitting pawn of the outlawed Black Ops group Cerberus, which is sabotaging the program by conducting illegal experiments on the students. When the Cerberus plot is exposed, Gillian's father takes her away from the Ascension Project and flees into the lawless Terminus systems. Determined to protect Gillian, Kaylee goes with him, unaware that the elder Grayson is, in fact, a Cerberus operative. To rescue the young girl, Kaylee must travel to the farthest ends of the galaxy, battling fierce enemies and impossible odds. But how will she be able to save a daughter from her own father? And you know what? That sounds pretty interesting. This is a direct sequel to the previous book I reviewed, Mass Effect Revelations. I'm going to link it, but I'm going to warn you guys that it's an older video of mine, so you're going to have to forgive a lot of jank in that. I also was nowhere near as comfortable in front of the camera as I am now. For better or worse. I can't give you too much of an unbiased view on this book, though, because I have technically already read it about a year ago. But I'm going to talk about it again for those of you who are curious about the Mass Effect novels and haven't had a chance to experience them. For that will be the first review of this month. The second book some of you may recognize. I originally put it in my September TBR, as in it's part of my minor TBR. For those of you curious, that is a small number of books that I read in the background while I'm reading the main TBR. You know, if I want to take a break from a main book that's a little too slow, or I just want to shake it up a little, I'll go read something from my minor TBR. Now, this one, I even admitted it in there, I only picked up because it seemed bad. It had that cheap paperback quality look that most bad books have. And that book is Typhoon Rising by David M. Dibble. Yeah, as you can tell, I've kind of already cracked into this and started to tab it up, which is never a good sign. I only really tab up the books that are bad enough that I need multiple reference points to go back and talk about. The only other one I've tabbed so far is The Last Layover. Just on a curse, just as the beginning, The Last Layover, this is nowhere near as bad as The Last Layover. I'm going to save for most of what I've read about it so far and talk about it later. Here's the synopsis. And the synopsis should tell you everything you need to know about why I'm wary about this book. Why I was wary going into this book. Naval Intelligence Officer John Blake on the hunt for 2 stolen Mark 48 homing torpedoes. The dangerous quest leads him to the Japanese Secret Service and the beautiful Kalani. Together they go undercover against a top godfather of the Asian crime syndicates. That's it. There's nothing else about this synopsis, so yeah. So I'm not going to talk too much about this because I'm going to have plenty to say about this in the future. But just be aware that this book definitely earns the name Typhoon. With that being said, I'm going to move on to the next one. The next one I debated about for a little bit. I wanted to know which of the groups that I should grab. Typhoon Rising was already in a TBR, and Mass Effect was easy to pick because of N7. So with these next 2 books, I had to debate which of my bad book pile did I really want to dig into and talk about. I decided that I was going to do something a little more popular, as opposed to Typhoon Rising, which is, it has that self-published look to it, and from what I looked up online about it, there's very little people who've talked about or reviewed it. So, I decided to go with something much more popular, something I actually have read before and liked, but as I grew and mature and continued on with the series, it really soured for me. So, in a sense, this sort of is like a nostalgic reevaluation, I guess. I keep going back to that. I'm not changing it, though. I've already decided. But I'm going to go back and see if maybe the first book was always sort of bad and I just didn't notice it. And that book is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. like I said before, I actually did get really into this series back in high school at least. And I read it and I thought it was really interesting at the time. Now, obviously, I've already shown that, like with Grey Griffins, what I did find interesting back then didn't always age as well. But at the same time, I'm hoping maybe this book is handled well. The reason I stopped reading this book was actually in book 3, and it was more of a story decision than anything else objective about it. For those of you who know the series and heard about my rant in The Lord of the Dead, you can probably guess about what it is. That made me say, ew, I'm done. I don't want to touch this series anymore. Let's talk about the synopsis. When Clary Frey heads out to the Pandemonium Club in New York City, she hardly expects to witness a murder, much less a murder committed by 3 teenagers covered with odd markings. This is Clary's first meeting with the Shadowhunters, warriors dedicated to ridding the earth of demons, and keeping the odd werewolves and vampires in line. It's also her first meeting with gorgeous golden-haired Jace. Within 24 hours, Clary is pulled into Jace's world with a vengeance, when her mother disappears and Clary herself is attacked by a demon. But why would demons be interested in an ordinary mundane like Clary? And how did she suddenly get the sight? The Shadowhunters would like to know. So yeah, you can already kind of tell it's sort of typical young adult fantasy stuff. But again, I'm gonna hope for the best on this, and maybe my cynicism is misplaced. But that being said, one of the quotes on the front of the book, like the front of the book, the first thing you see about the book on the cover, is from Stephanie Meyer praising the book, which some of y'all like Twilight, that's fine, but I've tried to read the books before. But that being said, that's what's on this one. Now, the final one actually did change from this book, from the last time I attempted to record this to this one. You see, originally I was going to review The Jericho Sanction by Oliver North. However, I decided that maybe I'll save that, because I found out that was actually a sequel book to something else. And I really don't like getting into books in the sequels rather than something else. I've done it before, like with Murder in the First Degree, or apparently Da Vinci Code. I didn't actually realize that was book number 2 in a series until I looked it up. Honestly, I prefer just starting at the beginning. So I decided that for this one, I'm going to pick up another book I found. This book also has that. I'm just going to show you. It's called Night Flight, part of the Truth Seeker series. And I don't know if you can see it very well. I'm pretty I think let me just get I'm trying to get it close without the light shining on it. But look at that. I'm just going to show you the cover, and that should say all you need to know. That should show you all you need to know why this book may not... It's already setting off those alarms in my head. But without further ado, I'm going to read you the synopsis, which, trust me, doesn't help. Ex-feds Diane and David Munson, former federal prosecutor and NCIS/DEA special agent, crank out high-velocity suspense as Glenna and Greg Ryder adopt Blaze, a mature dog. The teens are shocked when Blaze confronts shady criminals making counterfeit money. They discover what their parents never told them. Blaze is a retired law enforcement dog. The crooks are arrested, but Glenna and Greg must flee to their grandparents' home in Treasure Island. Danger follows them from Skeleton Key in the darkness of night as they put Blaze to work fighting crimes. Blaze reveals a surprising twist, so hold on for that thrilling end. For my standard readers out there, yeah, those alarms are probably blinking for you guys too. But maybe it'll be good. Maybe I'm being cynical. Maybe this is actually worth the read. I guess we'll find out. And for that is my TBR throughout this month of November. I'm probably going to try to do videos on Friday and Wednesday too, if I can. But don't expect them. As I said, this is National Novel Writing Month, and I'm going to be doing a lot of that. I'll post updates a little bit on my community, or possibly a couple shorts updating my progress. But for the moment, I'm going to try to balance the two. So, with that being said, just remember, With every book comes an adventure, and every adventure is worth having, even the bad ones.